Okay, so it's the next day. Yesterday was a kind of short day, but today we're going to a Cherokee Indian reservation.
That's where we're going.
So today's gonna be a really fun day.
Huh?
Okay, so we made it to the Indian reservation. The name I'm not even gonna try to pronounce.
Alright, this is our first station. This right here is finger weaving. Today we're using cotton commercial wool yarn to create our belts. Now before European contact, we're using plant fibers to create our belts. Aside from plant fibers, we're also using animal fur. This right here is bison fur. Now, 3 styles of weavings that we have. We have a single weave, which is an over and under pattern, creating mostly checkered and plaid designs like you see right here. And then of course we have a double weave, which is hanging up on the far end. That is the double diamond and dancing eagle. The loom style weaving is basically that, except you're just using your hands. We don't have a loom. There's no type of machinery or anything special like that. It's just all done by hand. Now the third style is the oblique method. That's what that is that Miss Karen's working on. Glass beads are woven into the belts. Now it's one of the older styles of weaving, except a long time ago we did not use glass beads. We didn't have glass beads, so we're using things like cane. We're also using shell, but I'll talk more about beads at the next stop. But other than that, it takes anywhere from a few days to possibly a couple weeks to create a belt. Before we move on, are there any questions?
Wow.
Back in the old days, we didn't have all the fancy glass beads like you see here. We're using mostly copper. We're using clay, seashell, bones, teeth, and claws of different animals. But as far as needles go for our beadwork, we're using bone needles, like you see right here.
Wow.
And other than that, the thread is going to be made from the animal sinew, also using the plant fibers. But aside from that, like I said, beadwork is just more of a decorative thing. And beads weren't exactly our form of currency or anything. It was more of a barter system, more of a barter item. So for instance, like if I like that purse you have, I'm like, well, I'll give you these strands of beads that I made, all handmade, all handcrafted, which by the way, wampum quahog beads would probably go about $8 a bead, if not more. And so I've even heard $10 a bead. So basically a lot of work goes into what we do here. And so that's why we don't see I don't want to say dollar monetary value, but more of like a sentimental value to our stuff.
Yeah.
So it's like our pottery, our baskets, our finger weavings, all sorts of things. But I'll be alright. I'll be alright.
Okay.
Alright. So this is our pottery section. Now pottery is going to be more used for cooking pots, water vessels, fire pots. And there's several different techniques to create pottery, but the one best way, which is what most people use here today, is the coil method. So the coil method, all it is starting out with a flat disc of clay, and then you're going to make coils and then stack them on top of each other and blend them into each other. Now when you're working with the pots, you can design them, and you want to do it while it's still wet, while the clay's still wet. So most of the time you're using the paddles like you see here. It's got designs carved into them, and you slap it into the clay. This helps get rid of air bubbles. This helps pack the clay in, and so, but also of course imprints designs into the clay also. Yeah. Alright guys. This right here is our weapon section. Now first, hanging up to the far your right, that is the bows that we're using to hunt large game. Game like bison, elk, deer, things like that. And the bows are often carved out of hard flexible woods, like hickory, yellow locust. Those are very common woods that you can use around here. So I know out west, Cherokees out there might use bodart, or they use Osage orange. Very hard, but I guess flexible woods at the same time. Now for the arrows, the shafts are made from mountain cane. Tops of the arrows are tied down with wild turkey feathers. And of course the points are made from different materials such as flint, quartzite, and even obsidian. Obsidian is also known as volcanic black glass. But you know, earlier the other earlier today I was talking about using the different materials to tie them down with. Like for warfare, you use sinew.
Yeah.
Because sinew, as soon as that gets touched with blood, it's going to loosen. Any liquid gets to it, it's going to loosen. And so when we try to pull that point out, that point is actually going to loosen from the arrow or from the shaft and get stuck inside your body. And so one way to cut it out is, well, either that, cut it, or push it all the way through the body. Either way, it's not going to be comfortable, I assume. So aside from that, though, the hunting arrow, that's when you use the plant fibers. This plant fiber, even if it gets wet, it's not going to loosen. It's going to stay intact. So there were definitely ups and downs to using the plant fibers versus the sinew. Yes, sinew was a lot easier. It's already there, basically. You just got to pull it out in the strands. With the plant fibers, you have to get the hemp plant or using tree bark, and you have to twine it and cord it. So it does take longer, but sometimes it's worth doing that one. Now, as for small game, we like to use what's called a blowgun. And of course we do have traps like deadfall trap, fish trap, and even a figure 4 trap. But often we're using the blowgun, especially like, when the parents are working in the gardens and to keep the kids occupied. The kids, from what I understand, they would actually be given a blowgun and darts to help keep critters out of the garden. So the cool things about, aside from that, we had birdhouses too that would hold purple martins, and they would basically help protect the gardens from crows. So, but aside from that though, the blowgun is a good way to hunt birds, squirrels, chipmunks, things like that. The largest animal you can take down is a wild turkey, but that's with a headshot. So the gun itself is a long piece of river cane. This is a small version, so that's just acorns. They're mad this season. But basically you heat up wherever it's crooked, get a fire built, let the heat get to it. It's going to soften the cane. So then you start pressing down on it and rolling it to kind of smooth it, but also straighten it. Now the inside has these joints right here. So here and here, you got to clear it out. So you get another piece of cane, and with a point on the end, and you're going to run it through to knock out those inner joints. Once you knock them out, get the other end of the cane, the blunt end, throw some sand down inside, and you can use it to basically smooth out the inside. Now, for the darts, that's what these are right here. The darts are going to be carved from yellow locust, hard but flexible woods. This right here is purple thistle, also known as Scottish thistle. They come from these little flower pods like you see right here hanging up. And you see they're tied up like that, so that way they have to keep them compressed so that way they don't explode and all the white fibers go everywhere. So it helps. Charging people like Airbnb to stay in these, and we'll give them the Cherokee experience. We'll send in some like spirits to scare them out and freak them out a little bit, crawl out from the fireplace. I don't know. But anyhow, so welcome to go inside these, look around. If you have any questions, I'll be right down.
Okay, so this is a turkey home.
It was
that's water.
Cool. It was hot last time.
Ooh,
This is awesome.
it's kind of dark.
No.
It didn't have lights back
They
then.
didn't have electricity.
No. No.
You don't want to lay in the bed?
No.
Come on, take your little. Because people didn't have comfort like we have nowadays.
Oh, that is. Yeah.
That to them was probably.
Or to get you some lemon to put on.
Okay, so we just got our lunch. I got trout. Haven't had trout in a long time, so.
Do you want any sauce, Millie, for your chicken?
That's really good.
Can I get some more pickles whenever you come back? Thank you. I think that's
pretty good.
it.
I think that's it.